welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I am working on 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life, series number 13. Today is day 15. It's a Sunday. I will have two videos on my channel today. I'll have this one, which will appear first, and then in the afternoon I have Scraplift Crafternoon with my tribe. So let's talk about today's sketch. It is another beautiful two-page sketch. I mentioned in the previous two-page sketch video that I need more of these because I have a ton of layouts planned that are 2 pages. And most of them are going to be Christmas themed, but there are a few others here and there. So what I see about this sketch is she has some layers here. Looks like at least 2 layers there. And then she has some smaller layers for the photos. I'm not going to map my photos, I don't think, but I think these layers that I'm going to try to mimic are going to be enough matte. I also see tags. She has 6 tags on the layout, and then these could be pieces of washi or embellishment clusters or whatever you want. I think I'm going to put labels on them, which is why you see this pile of tickets here. I also pulled out some ephemera. So the collection that I'm using again for this layout is Farmstead Harvest. I used it on my 2-page layout the other day of our family Thanksgiving. And this is going to be a follow-up page in the same album. It's the next one in line, and it just shows all of the food that I made for Thanksgiving that year. And pretty much this is our spread every year, and we eat off of it for days on end, which isn't that what we all do on Thanksgiving? At least I think most people do. I chose several pieces of patterned paper here. I've got 2 sheets of these. I have a partial sheet of this because I used it on the layout the other day, and then I have a full sheet of it, and then a sheet of this for this blue, and 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 craft cardstock that I thought I would put down as a bottom layer in that layered section on each page. I also pulled the tags from this collection, the tag sheet. I did not buy it for that side. I bought it for the tags. And I pulled the thickers. These are a wood grain puffy sticker, some stickers, and the phrase pack. And then, of course, here's all my photos, which I will need to trim down slightly. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video. We're going to get started. I will be gutting some of this paper, not because I need to save every single scrap, but because I want to. I am the paper snob after all. I love paper. So we're going to gut some of this paper, these 2 sheets, and then we're going to go from there. I'll be right back. So I know that I want to use that bottom row of tags, so I'm going to separate those and set the rest aside for another day. I think I only use 4 of these tags, and then I pull in a tag from one of the ephemera packs for some journaling later. So I'm just going to trim all of these down and then set them aside. Alright, the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and gut those 2 pieces of patterned paper. Like I said, I am going to push in the paper to the 1-inch mark, and then I'm going to cut from the 1 to the 11 mark, and then I'll repeat around all 4 sides of both papers. That gives me a 1-inch margin all the way around the paper. And I will repeat that for the second sheet. So you can see I have a lovely 1-inch margin right there for the paper. And I'll go ahead and repeat for the second piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut down, I believe I cut off a 1/2 inch from 2 sides of this pattern paper. You could cut a 1/4 of an inch from all 4 sides. For this one, I'm just going to cut off a 1/2 inch from one side and then just turn it and cut it and get a 1/2 inch off the other side, and that will just cut down that paper, and that way there will be a 1/4 inch margin around the paper. Once I put it on the frame, you'll see right here, I'm going to go ahead and lay that down on top of that frame that I made for my background. And this is how you will be able to mat a larger background. So I had no intentions of actually stitching on this layout, but once I put the gingham on top of the fall leaf pattern paper, I realized that that would look really pretty. So I'm only adhering it to the background with a couple tacks from my ATG gun, and then I flip it over on the back side, and you saw that I added the washi tape. And the reason that I do that is because I'm using that washi tape to stabilize the background. Even if I glued it all the way around, it still wouldn't feel very stable when I'm sewing, and I just use that washi to stabilize it. You can leave it on there once you stitch, or you can take it off. I am just going to leave it on. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and start building the rest of the layers of patterned paper for this layout. I have these 2 sheets of 8.5 by 11 craft cardstock. They, I think, came from Michael's in a pack of 50 or whatever their packs are. I buy those for matting or for what I'm doing here. I'm going to put them in the middle of each side of the layout. I'm trying to mimic what the creator of the sketch did, and you can't tell real plainly what she has done with the layers, but this is just my interpretation of that, and I'm going to go ahead and put each sheet in the middle. I did cut them down to 8 by 10 before adhering them to that background. Okay, now I'm going to set them side by side on my glass mat so that I can begin with some other layers. I'm going to move that stack of product that I had underneath the right hand side so that I can get started. And then I'm going to take this house strip of paper first. I think this is a 7 by 12 piece, and I first cut off roughly 12 inches, but then it's still bigger than I want it to be, so I go ahead and I cut it down just a little bit more, and then I kind of plop that down on that right hand side for another layer of patterned paper. Now, of course, this pattern paper is going to be under a lot of photos. You're not going to see a ton of it, but it'll be peeking out from underneath my photos just a little bit. And to make the left hand side a continuance of the right hand side, I'm going to put a tiny bit of that house paper on that left side. Now I only have 1 sheet of this blue on blue print. I love this color of blue, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut, I believe that's an 8-inch square right there, and I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to put that on the left side. I'm just going to kind of layer it up, and it's just going to go there, and it's just going to be, like I said, more layers on here. And then I'm going to take the small piece that I cut up, and I'm going to place it in the middle of that house piece of pattern paper. And at this point, I'm pretty happy with these layers. And it is also at this point where I realize I definitely want to stitch on this layout, because I feel like the stitching, not only does it add texture, but it also defines my set of layers. I'm tucking those tags up at the top just to give myself an idea of what they're going to look like. I'm not leaving them there yet because I haven't fully trimmed those down yet. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the holes for the tags with my, I forget what the name of that tool is, but it's a nice tool and I love it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the holes for the tags there and set those aside, and I've already trimmed them up pretty nicely. And now I'm going to go ahead and tuck them under the actual layers. So I won't be gluing those down just yet, but I am just going to kind of stick them behind those layers. I will put some liquid glue behind them eventually, but for now I'm just kind of getting an idea of placement before I add my photos and other things to this completed layered up background. I'm pretty happy with this background. I am going to trim down these photos. I'm not going to get as many photos as the creator put on her sketch. Instead of 7, I'm only going to get 6, and that's okay. A couple of the photos are kind of redundant anyway, and so it works out well. I'm also not able to trim them down as small as she had, and I didn't have the right orientation on all of them either. So I'm just kind of making her sketch work for the photos that I chose to work with on this. This photo here, I think, is an iPhone photo, and I used to buy those Groove books that were $5 a month, and you got 100 or so photos from your iPhone, and they're very terrible quality, and some of them didn't print 4x6. Some of them printed that weird size, which works out great because that looks like what she put on her sketch was that size. And I think that is like a 3x5 is what that ends up being. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get these photos all trimmed down and placed on here. And I decide once I get the photos on top of all that pattern paper that they definitely need to be matted. And that gets kind of tricky because I don't want to bring in another piece of pattern paper. And so I look through my cardstock that I have, and I have one sheet of a blue that's about the same as that lovely blue that I put down, but it's a couple of shades darker. And so I decide that that's what I'm going to go with. Not quite to that point yet. I'm going to bring in a few pieces of embellishments. I have some journaling pieces, a tag, couple of pieces that have phrases on them, a frame that I want to tuck in here. I'm still kind of getting an idea of how things are going to be placed on this layout. You can see that I'm not gluing anything down, but I'm just kind of plopping things. I also have those tickets that I showed you at the beginning, and I'm going to begin putting those down where I think they're going to end up. And I'm going to use those as labels to put additional journaling. I will probably put, what's in the photo, like the one with the green bean casserole. I mentioned that is the Pioneer Woman's green bean casserole recipe. It is actually my kids' favorite of the kids who will actually eat green bean casserole, but it is their favorite. And so I have cooked that for years for them. And I plop up that word family. I think it's going to say Family Thanksgiving eventually, but I'm going to have to bring in some different letters to put on there because the wood grain puffy letters are way too large of a title. So now I have matted those photos off camera, and I have glued all of the things down already. I have also stitched around that orange gingham on each side, and you can see how it kind of draws your eyes in. It creates a nice lovely border and a little bit of texture. I just used it's an embroidery floss that is about the color of craft paper, but about a shade or two darker. So now I'm going to go ahead and start adding the rest of the embellishments. I have those little banner pieces that have a couple words that I'm going to plop on there, but I'm going to bring in quite a few of these. They're kind of like puffy stickers, but not. They're not really puffy stickers. These are the kind that if you accidentally bend them incorrectly, they leave crinkles on them, so you have to be kind of careful with them when you pull them off. They're kind of cardstock on foam, I guess is what I would call them, but it's a glossy cardstock, so you have to be careful with them or they bend. I'm also going to open up this pack of stickers, and I'm going to create a couple embellishment clusters with this. I'm going to put these 2 mushrooms together like you saw me do, and yeah, I build this cluster on my fingers, and kind of weird about that, but I do. I try out the floral piece, don't like that, sticking it back on the sticker sheet, and I'm going to pull out these pumpkins, and they're going to end up on top of those mushrooms, and I'm going to kind of pull up my title a little bit, and I'm going to tuck them underneath, and then I'm going to add a few more stickers around to make a little bit more of a cluster base up there. So next I'm going to audition some smaller letters that I kind of had off to the side to see if they are small enough to work for the title. They are not, and so I'm going to set them aside. They're also not going to show up well enough, in my opinion. And I am going to go ahead and grab some of my October afternoon, I think they're called mini marks. They are my absolute favorite letter stickers. Anytime they came on sale anywhere, I bought every pack that I could get my hands on. Peachy Cheap had them for a while. I think I got some from Scrapbook Generation back when they had them in stock. I adore these stamps. I'm pretty tickled that Pretty Little Studio now puts out some of those stickers, and you can get those at Scrapbook Generation. They have several different colors, which makes my heart happy because I am running out of these stickers. I have them in several colors, but I'm starting, as you can see, that one sheet is out of almost all of the letters, and as I use them, I'm finding that I'm running out of all of the letters in general, especially the vowels. There's never enough vowels on a sheet of letter stickers. So as I was putting that word Thanksgiving down, the L or the Y dropped down too far on my letters and it was covering up the V. So I'm trying to move it around so that you can still see it, but also so that it is just not too far away. And at this point, I just leave up that one end to make sure that I've got it where it goes so I don't tear up that title. Because again, it's another one of those cardstock stickers on top of foam. And if you bend it, it leaves crinkles and it doesn't look nice anymore. So you have to be really careful with it. So I'm just kind of playing with that now, trying to get that on there so that you can still read all of the letters that I put for the word Thanksgiving. I'm also going to put the date over on the right hand page using the same letters. That brings that green across because there's no green, I think, in that pattern paper. There's green in my photos though. And if there is green in that pattern paper, there's very, very little that you can see. So I wanted to put I wanted to put that color on both sides. My next step is going to go ahead and add some enamel dots. These are not enamel dots that came with this collection. As you can see, they're from Simple Stories, and they're from one of their fall collections that I used recently in another video. They've just been sitting along the side. I have a method that I store my enamel dots, but it involves taking them off the backing and putting them on a different sheet, and I haven't done it yet with this set, so they've just been sitting along the side, and if I keep using them, I won't have to put them away. That's how that works, right? Anyway, next step, I'm going to go ahead and tie some bows for my tags. There are 5 tags on here. You're going to see me only tie four bows instead of 5. I tie the 5th one off camera before I do what I call my outro. But I'm going to use this twine to put bows on the tags because I like the texture that it adds. It just adds a little something something to the tag holes instead of just leaving them bare. I've also been known to add buttons to tag holes, and maybe I should start doing that again because I have a lot of buttons. My favorite method for gluing down twine is to use glue dots. I keep glue dots in a couple sizes. I think I have 3 sizes. Actually, I have what I call the mini ones, and then I have the normal size. I'm going to use the mini glue dots to glue down these bows. To me, this is the fastest and most efficient way to get them glued down. All right, I got this layout completely finished. One of the things that I did off camera is I went ahead and I stitched around that layer of pattern paper. I have not been able to stitch as much as I'd like on my layouts this month because, as most of you know, putting out a daily video is a lot of work and is time consuming, and there's a lot of things going on in my family right now. Anyway, as I ramble along, I am pretty pleased with this 2-page layout. I ended up with, I think, less, or maybe I didn't, 1 less photo. This side should have had 4. I did not have room for a 4th one because I did not want to cut down my photos any more than they are, and I didn't have 2 that I could cut down in this manner, which is what is on the original sketch. I also left out the tag that's here, and I moved it here instead and kind of made a little cluster here. I wrote on some of the labels. This one I'll go back and write something on more than likely. Journaled a little bit here and here, and just added a few embellishments. I kind of let my pattern paper do the embellishing on this. Otherwise, it might have been a little bit busy. I did create a small cluster of stickers there underneath my title, which you got to see me pick up and move a couple of times because I didn't plan well, and that's okay. You can do that. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with the way this layout turned out. Make sure that you check that playlist below so that you can check out what all of the other creators are doing with this sketch this month. That playlist will be for the entire month of October. Anybody who's playing along will be in that playlist, so do make sure you check it out. I want to thank you so much for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who take the time to like, comment, and or subscribe to my channel. It will always be free to do those things, so please, if you are not a subscriber, I would absolutely adore to have you subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments or questions about this layout, just drop them below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I try to answer everybody daily. Sometimes it waits till the next morning, but for the most part, I get back to you pretty quickly. You guys have a great rest of your Sunday. I hope that you are hanging out with family today and enjoying the weekend. Bye.